Oh, fantastic. Another one of those humans, Senior Instructor Veritax grumbled, his four eyes narrowing simultaneously as he reviewed the enrollment manifest. Just what we need to complicate this training cycle. His assistant, Junior Instructor Praloon, nervously adjusted her uniform collar. Sir, I have heard stories about these Deathworlders, but surely they can't be as disruptive as the last one? The one who broke 17 training dummies, punched through a reinforced barrier because, and I quote, I tripped, and somehow managed to consume nearly a month's worth of cafeteria provisions? Veritax's upper eye stalks swiveled toward her. Trust me, Praloon, they are worse than the stories. The Galactic Confederation Military Academy had only begun accepting human cadets 5 cycles ago. 5 very long, very expensive, very loud cycles. The humans came from a Category 12 Deathworld, a planet so hostile that most civilized species couldn't even breathe its toxic atmosphere without immediate respiratory failure. Earth, they called it. A dreadful little rock with crushing gravity, extreme temperature variations, and indigenous life forms that had evolved to be ridiculously resilient, just like the humans themselves. Which one is it this time? Praloon asked, trying to peek at the manifest. Veritax sighed, a whistling sound through his breathing slits. Mackenzie Torres. Female. 22 Earth rotations old. Previous occupation, competitive athlete. He dropped the datapad on his desk as if it had suddenly grown hot. A competitive athlete. As if we needed one with specialized physical training. Praloon's skin flushed a concerned yellow. When does she arrive? A thunderous crash echoed from the reception hall, followed by profuse apologies in a language the translator struggled to process correctly. I believe, Veritax said dryly, that would be her now. Cadet Mackenzie Torres Mack. To her friends, though she doubted she'd find many among the assortment of tentacles, exoskeletons, and gelatinous blobs surrounding her stood awkwardly in the reception area of the Galactic Confederation Military Academy, surrounded by the remains of what had once been an ornate welcome sculpture. I am absolutely mortified, she said, trying to stack pieces of the artwork together. The gravity settings here are so different, and I miscalculated when I put my bag down. The receptionist, a floating orb-like creature with hundreds of tiny appendages, bobbed nervously. Please stop touching it, Deathworlder Torres. You are making it worse. Mac immediately stepped back, hands raised. Right, sorry. Again. The receptionist Panoptics, according to the floating name-tag, consulted a glowing console. You have been assigned to Dormitory Complex 7, Unit 42. It has been specially reinforced. The orb's voice dropped to a whisper. After the incident with the previous human cadet. Previous human? Mac's interest piqued. What happened to them? Graduated top of the class, came a stern voice from behind her, much to everyone's surprise and my personal dismay. Mac turned to see a tall, insectoid being with 4 eyes and an elaborate uniform adorned with so many medals it seemed physically improbable he could stand upright. Senior Instructor Veritax, the being announced, not extending any of his 4 upper limbs in greeting. I will be overseeing your training, Deathworlder Torres. It's an honor, sir, Mac said, offering her most professional salute. I'm excited to begin training and… Yes, Veritax interrupted. Your enthusiasm is noted and somewhat concerning. Junior Instructor Praloon will show you to your quarters. Training begins at dawn. That's 0500's standard galactic time, which I'm told is approximately. He consulted a device on his wrist, 4 a.m. in your Earth measurement. Mac blinked. That's early? Indeed. Perhaps it will help temper some of that Deathworlder energy we have been warned about. With that, Veritax turned and strode away, chitinous legs clicking rhythmically against the polished floor. A smaller insectoid being stepped forward, her exoskeleton a soft purple hue. I'm Junior Instructor Praloon. Please follow me, Cadet Torres. And perhaps walk lightly? The dormitory was exactly what Mac had expected, sterile, practical, and modified with reinforced everything. The bed looked like it could support a small tank. The sink fixtures were thick enough to anchor a cruise ship. The last human must have really done a number on this place, Mac muttered as she tossed her bag onto the bed. Cadet here was enthusiastic, Prolune said diplomatically. He didn't always understand his own strength in our gravitational conditions. And Mac nodded. Earth's gravity was roughly 1.5 times stronger than the standard maintained throughout Confederation facilities. To her, it felt like walking on the moon if the moon had breathable air and wasn't, well, the moon. I will be careful, she promised. I have been practicing in simulated low-grav environments for months before coming here. Prolune's antennae twitched with what Mac hoped was approval. That's commendable foresight, Cadet. Your physical assessment is scheduled for tomorrow after orientation. Rest well. The junior instructor paused at the door. In Cadet Torres? The other species here, they may seem unfriendly at first. They are just cautious. Because I'm from a death world? Because the last human cadet accidentally hugged a Jalurian so hard their body mass was temporarily redistributed into 3 separate puddles. And with that disturbing image, Prolune left Mac alone with her thoughts. The mess hall was a cacophony of sounds, smells, and sights that overwhelmed Mac's senses. Hundreds of cadets from dozens of species filled the massive space, consuming foods that defied description. You look lost, Deathworlder, came a gurgling voice to her right. Mac turned to see what appeared to be a humanoid dolphin, complete with glistening blue-gray skin and a prominent dorsal fin. Unlike Earth dolphins, however, this being had arms, legs, and was wearing the same cadet uniform as everyone else. That obvious, huh? Mac smiled cautiously. You are standing in the center of the room holding your tray like a shield, the dolphin being said. Plus, you are a human. There aren't many of you around. I'm Cadet Ziphius, by the way. Mackenzie Torres. Call me Mac. Mac, Ziphius repeated, the name coming out with a bubbly quality. You can sit with us if you want. We have established a table for water breathers and other unusual respiratory types. You qualify as unusual. Thanks, I think. Knob. Ziphius led her to a table where several other cadets sat, some with obvious gills, others with what looked like specialized breathing apparatus. Everyone, this is Mac, the new human, Ziphius announced. A chorus of greetings rose from the table, ranging from melodic trills to subsonic rumbles that Mac felt more than heard. Is it true that humans drink dihydrogen monoxide for pleasure? Asked a cadet with translucent skin through which Mac could see multiple pulsating organs. You mean water? Yes, we need it to survive, Mac answered, taking a seat carefully. The chair creaked but held. Fascinating. That substance is caustic to my epidermis, the translucent cadet replied cheerfully. I'm Luminax, by the way. Methane breather from Epsilon Eridani. Nice to meet you, Mac said, surveying her tray of, well, she wasn't entirely sure what it was supposed to be. The orientation materials had assured her it was human-compatible. That's protein supplement Alpha 7, said another cadet, this one resembling a cross between a praying mantis and a porcupine. It's deliberately flavorless but nutritionally complete. I'm Quillax. Do all your names end in ax? Mac asked before she could stop herself. The table erupted in what she hoped was laughter. Confederation translation protocols, Ziphius explained. Most species names don't translate well into audible ranges compatible with everyone, so the system adds phonetic elements that each species can pronounce. To me, your name sounds like Bubble Click Splash. Seriously? No, Ziphius gurgled with amusement. I'm just messing with you. But your name does sound different in my native tongue. As Mac cautiously tasted her flavorless protein goop, she noticed a group of cadets at a nearby table staring at her. Unlike her newfound companions, these beings shared a similar body plan, tall, thin, with silvery skin and elongated limbs. Don't mind the Arcturians, Quillax whispered, following her gaze. They think they are the pinnacle of evolution because their planet has had peace for 10,000 years, and because their world is Category 3. Practically a paradise, Luminax added. They tend to look down on species from harsher worlds, especially Category 12 Deathworlders, Ziphius finished. They find you concerning. Before Mac could respond, one of the Arcturians approached their table. Tall and graceful, with features so symmetrical they seemed almost artificial, the silver-skinned cadet looked down at Mac with what could only be described as disdain. "So this is the New Earth Savage," the Arcturian said, voice melodious despite the harsh words. "I am Cadet Cerulean, 3rd rank of House Eternal Starlight. I feel it is my duty to inform you that your kind is not welcome here." Mac put down her spoon carefully, conscious of her strength. "I passed the same entrance exams as you did, Cadet Cerulean. A clerical error, no doubt. Deathworlders lack the mental refinement for true military discipline. You are all instinct and violence." Cerulean's silver eyes narrowed. The previous human nearly destroyed the combat training facility. "Because he excelled at combat training?" Mac suggested. "Because he couldn't control himself." Cerulean snapped. "Just as you won't be able to. It's only a matter of time before your savage nature emerges." Mac felt her cheeks flush with anger but maintained her composure. "I appreciate your concern for my academic success, Cadet Cerulean. I will be sure to keep it in mind during tomorrow's assessments." The Arcturian seemed taken aback by her calm response. After a moment of visible confusion, Cerulean turned and glided back to the table of silver-skinned cadets. "That was diplomatic," Ziphius said, sounding impressed. Mac shrugged. "My mom's a negotiator for international trade disputes. I picked up a few things." "Well, you have just made an enemy," Quillax noted, spines rattling. "Arcturians don't like being outmaneuvered socially. It offends their sense of superiority." "Great," Mac sighed. "First day and I have already broken a sculpture, been warned about accidentally redistricting someone into puddles, and offended the Silver Space Elves. This is going great." Luminax's translucent form rippled with what might have been laughter. "Welcome to the Confederation, human. It only gets weirder from here." The physical assessment course looked like it had been designed by someone with a serious grudge against bipedal locomotion. Obstacles of varying heights, widths, and apparent stability stretched across the massive training room, with holographic markers indicating the expected path. "This is ridiculous," Mac muttered as Senior Instructor Veritax explained the course to the assembled cadets. "The course is designed to test adaptability across multiple gravitational and environmental conditions," Veritax announced. "Sections will shift from standard gravity to your species' native gravity and back again without warning. Sensory disruptions may occur. This is intentional." Beside her, Ziphius made a bubbling sound of distress. "The gravity shifts are the worst. Last cycle, 3 Jovian cadets were stuck to the ceiling for an hour." "Cadet Torres," Veritax called out. "Since humans have such a reputation for physical prowess, perhaps you'd like to demonstrate the course first?" Every eye, stalk, sensory pit, and visual receptor in the room turned toward Mac. She swallowed hard. "Yes, sir," she replied, stepping forward. "Excellent," Veritax said, mandibles clicking in what she was starting to recognize as his version of a smirk. "Begin on my mark." As Mac took her position at the starting line, she noticed Cadet Cerulean and the other Arcturians watching with undisguised anticipation. They were expecting her to fail or worse, to rampage through the course like a bull in a china shop. "Mark," Veritax shouted. Mac took off, immediately conscious of her movements in the lower gravity. The first obstacle was a series of platforms of increasing height. She jumped, carefully moderating her strength. Too carefully. She barely made the first platform. "Gravitational shift in 3, 2, 1, came an automated voice. Suddenly, Mac felt the familiar pull of Earth's standard gravity. Her body, trained for this environment, responded immediately. She leapt to the next platform with practiced ease, then the next. "She's actually good," she heard someone whisper. The course shifted again, walls to climb, gaps to cross, a tunnel that seemed to spin disorientingly. Mac moved through each challenge methodically, using her training and the natural adaptability humans had evolved on their harsh homeworld. As she approached the final obstacle, a climbing wall that shifted unpredictably, she heard Ceralian's voice cut through the murmurs. "Impressive for a primitive, I suppose. But wait until the combat assessment. That's when the Deathworlder's true nature will emerge." Mac pretended not to hear as she scaled the wall, finding handholds where others might struggle thanks to her planet's higher gravity, giving her greater strength. As she reached the top and hit the completion sensor, the room fell silent. "Time, 4 minutes, 12 seconds, announced the automated system. "The new course record. Watch 2. New course record." The silence broke into a mixture of impressed murmurs and concerned whispers. Veritax's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. "Well," the senior instructor said finally, "it seems you have inherited your predecessor's physical capabilities, Cadet Torres. Let us hope you have also inherited his restraint during combat training." As Mac rejoined the group, Xiphias gave her what appeared to be a thumbs up with his flipper-like hand. Luminax's internal organs pulsed with what she hoped was approval. Even Quilax's spines had relaxed slightly. Only the Arcturians seemed unimpressed, Ceralian's silver features twisted into an expression of contempt. "The combat assessment begins in 1 hour," Veritax announced. "I suggest you all prepare accordingly." Mac had a feeling that prepare accordingly meant something very different for her than for the others. She was right. "Combat simulation chamber," Junior Instructor Praloon explained as the cadets filed into a cavernous room with matte black walls. The floor, ceiling, and walls contain millions of nanoprojectors capable of generating solid light constructs. These constructs can simulate everything from terrain to opponents to projectiles. Mac eyed the chamber warily. "And these solid light constructs, they can hurt us?" "They deliver a calibrated neurological stimulus that your brain interprets as pain," Praloon replied. "The intensity is adjusted for each species' tolerance thresholds. So for humans?" Mac left the question hanging. Praloon's antennae twitched nervously. "We have had to estimate, based on Cadet Javier's performance last cycle." "Great," Mac muttered. "Just great." The cadets were directed to stand along the perimeter of the room while Veritax took center stage, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh lights. "Combat assessment consists of 3 phases," he announced, mandibles clicking with what Mac was beginning to recognize as enthusiasm. "First, individual weapon proficiency. Second, small unit tactics. Third, the gauntlet." A ripple of nervous energy passed through the assembled cadets. "What's the gauntlet?" Mac whispered to Xiphias. The aquatic cadet's dorsal fin quivered. "Solo survival exercise. Different for every cadet. Rumor has it they tailor it to exploit your greatest weaknesses." "Sounds fun," Mac said, not meaning it at all. "Torres." Veritax called out, 4 eyes fixed on her. "Step forward for individual assessment." Of course. Once again, she'd be going first. Mac stepped into the center of the room, feeling everyone's eyes on her. The black floor beneath her feet suddenly illuminated with a glowing circle about 10 meters in diameter. "Standard Confederation sidearm," Veritax said, as a pedestal rose from the floor bearing what looked like a sleek pistol. "To demonstrate your proficiency." Mac approached the weapon cautiously. It was lighter than it looked, with no obvious trigger, just a smooth grip that seemed to mold to her hand when she picked it up. Neural interface activated, came an automated voice, calibrating for human physiology. "The weapon fires when you intend it to," Praloon explained from the sidelines. "Simply aim and think about firing. Targets will appear randomly," Veritax added. "You have 30 seconds to hit as many as possible." Before Mac could ask any questions, the chamber transformed. The black walls vanished, replaced by what appeared to be a dense jungle environment. Glowing orbs of various colors began to materialize between the trees, moving in erratic patterns. "Begin!" Veritax shouted. Mac raised the weapon, aimed at a blue orb, and thought about shooting it. The weapon discharged with a soft pulse, a beam of energy striking the target dead center. The orb shattered into particles of light. "1," counted an automated voice. Emboldened, Mac pivoted, tracking targets with fluid movements. The weapon responded to her thoughts with virtually no delay. 2, 3, 4. The rhythm of target acquisition came naturally to her. A gravitational shift announced the system. Suddenly, Mac felt her weight increase dramatically as the chamber shifted to Earth's standard gravity. Many species would have stumbled, their aim thrown off by the sudden change. But to Mac, it felt like coming home. Her movements became even more precise. 7, 12, 18. Time. Called Veritax, sounding slightly stunned. The jungle simulation faded, returning the room to its original state. The scoring display hovered in the air, 22 targets. "That's unusual," Veritax said, consulting his datapad. The previous record was 17. "Beginner's luck?" Mac offered with a shrug, replacing the weapon on its pedestal. "Perhaps," Veritax replied, but his tone suggested he didn't believe it. Returned to the line. As Mac rejoined the other cadets, she noticed Cerulean and the other Arcturians huddled together, speaking in hushed tones while casting glances her way. "They are plotting something," Ziphius whispered. "Arcturians always scheme when they feel threatened." "Threatened? By me?" Mac asked. Quillax's spines rustled. "You have outperformed everyone on 2 assessments now." "That's not supposed to happen, especially not from a—" The spiny cadet trailed off. "A Deathworlder," Mac finished for him. "Right." One by one, the other cadets completed their individual assessments. Ziphius managed an impressive 16 targets, his aquatic reflexes serving him well. Luminax, the transparent methane breather, scored 14. Quillax hit 15, spines flaring with each successful shot. Then came Cerulean's turn. The Arcturian moved with liquid grace, silver skin gleaming as he acquired targets with methodical precision. When his time ended, the score displayed 21, one less than Mac. The Arcturian's perfect features contorted briefly before resuming their mask of superiority. He returned to the line without comment, but the glare he directed at Mac could have melted steel. "Small unit tactics assessment," Veritax announced. "Teams of 4. Objective: capture the opposing team's beacon while defending your own." The instructor read off team assignments. To Mac's dismay, she found herself grouped with Cerulean and 2 other Arcturians, Cadet Neuralian and Cadet Peralian. "Just my luck," she muttered. "Perhaps you will learn something about civilized combat strategies," Cerulean said coldly as they moved to their starting position. The room transformed again, this time into an urban environment with crumbling buildings, narrow alleys, and multiple levels of elevation. A glowing blue beacon appeared behind their team, while a red one materialized at the far end of the simulated city. "Your opponents," Veritax called out. "Team 2, Cadets Ziphius, Luminax, Quillax, and Drillax." Mac caught Ziphius's eye across the simulation. The aquatic cadet gave her what might have been a sympathetic look. "Each team has 5 minutes to establish defensive positions before offensive operations may commence," Veritax explained. "Begin preparation phase." Cerulean immediately took charge. Neuralian, high position, 3rd building. Peralian, ground floor, ambush point. "I will take mid-level overwatch." "And me?" Mac asked. Cerulean's silver eyes narrowed. "You, Deathworlder, will guard the beacon directly. Do not move from it. Do not attempt anything creative. But wouldn't it make more sense to use my strength for?" "The beacon," Cerulean interrupted. "That is an order. This is a test of tactical discipline, not brute force." Mac bit back a retort and nodded. "Fine. I will guard the beacon." As the Arcturians moved to their positions, Mac stood beside the pulsing blue light, studying the terrain. From her position, she could see multiple approaches to their defensive position, but also several paths that might lead to the enemy beacon. The preparation phase ended with a loud tone. "Offensive operations may now commence," announced the system. Almost immediately, Max spotted Movement Quillax's distinctive spiny silhouette darting between buildings about 100 meters away. She raised her training weapon, then hesitated. She'd been ordered to stay with the beacon, but surely taking a shot wouldn't violate that directive? Before she could decide, a communication came through her earpiece. "Enemy contact. Northern approach," Neralian reported. "Engaging." The sound of weapon fire echoed through the simulated city. Max strained to see what was happening, but her view was obstructed by buildings. Down came the automated announcement. "Team 1, Neralian eliminated." "How?" Cerulean demanded over the comm. "The transparent one, I couldn't see them properly," came Neralian's frustrated reply before his channel went silent, indicating his removal from the exercise. Mac frowned. "That was quick. Too quick." "Peralian, adjust position to cover Neralian's sector," Cerulean ordered. "Confirmed," came the reply. Mac tapped her comm. "Cerulean, I think they are using Luminax's natural camouflage as an advantage." "Maybe I should." "Maintain your position, Deathworlder," Cerulean snapped. "Follow orders." Mac gritted her teeth but stayed put. Another burst of weapons fire, followed by a splash of water that seemed out of place in the urban setting. Down. "Team 2, Xiphias eliminated." At least they'd gotten one. But now they were evenly matched, 3-on-3. A movement caught Mac's eye, a slight distortion in the air, like heat waves off hot pavement. Luminax, using their transparent body to approach unseen. "Contact near the beacon," Mac reported quietly. "Luminax is using active camouflage." "Do not engage," Cerulean ordered. "It's a diversion." Peralian and I are tracking Quillax and relaxed toward the objective. The distortion moved closer, becoming more distinct. Mac could now make out Luminax's outline as they crept toward the beacon. "They are almost on top of the beacon," Mac insisted. "I need to engage." Negative. "Maintain position." Mac made a split-second decision. She fired at the distortion, hitting Luminax square in what she hoped was a non-vital area. The transparent cadet became fully visible, stumbling backward with a gasp. Down. "Team 2, Luminax eliminated." "I ordered you not to engage." Cerulean hissed through the comm. "And I just stopped them from taking our beacon," Mac replied. "You are welcome." A sudden commotion from across the simulation drew her attention. Cerulean's voice came through, tense and frustrated. "Ambush." They were waiting for. Down. "Team 1, Peralian eliminated." Now it was 2 against 2, Mac and Cerulean versus Quillax and the mysterious Dralax, whom Mac hadn't even seen yet. "Cerulean, we need to regroup," Mac said into her comm. "I can secure the beacon and you can." "Silence," the Arcturian snapped. "I have almost reached their beacon. To defend ours at all costs." Mac scanned her surroundings, a sense of unease growing. Something didn't feel right. The remaining opponents were being too quiet. Then she spotted it, a small, drone-like construct hovering near the ceiling of the simulation, directly above the beacon. It wasn't part of the original environment. "Cerulean, they have got some kind of—" The drone dropped what looked like a smoke canister. The area around the beacon immediately filled with thick, obscuring vapor. "Dirty trick," Mac muttered, trying to peer through the smoke. Her human eyes weren't equipped for this kind of visual obstruction. A shadow moved within the haze Quillax, his spines distinct even in the poor visibility. Mac fired, but the shot went wide as the spiny cadet dodged with surprising agility. "Missed me, Deathworlder," came Quillax's voice, unexpectedly close. Mac spun, firing again. Another miss. Down. "Team 1, Cerulean eliminated." Great. Now she was alone. "Come on out, human," called an unfamiliar voice, presumably Dralax. 2 against 1 now. Mac backed up until she felt the beacon behind her. The smoke was beginning to dissipate, but not quickly enough. She needed to change tactics. An idea struck her. If she couldn't see through the smoke, maybe she didn't need to. Mac closed her eyes, focusing on her other senses. In the relative quiet of the simulation, she could hear the subtle movements around her, the soft click of Quillax's spines, the barely perceptible footsteps of Drillax. There, to her right, something moving. She fired without opening her eyes. Down. Team 2, Quillax eliminated. Mac's eyes snapped open. It had worked. One opponent left. A slow clap echoed through the fading smoke. A stocky, reptilian cadet with iridescent scales stepped into view. Drillax. Impressive human, the reptilian cadet said. But you are still going to lose. We will see about that, Mac replied, raising her weapon. Drillax moved with unexpected speed, diving behind a piece of rubble before Mac could fire. The reptilian's head popped up briefly, firing a quick shot that forced Mac to duck. Your beacon or mine, Deathworlder, Drillax called out. You can't protect yours and capture mine at the same time. Mac realized the reptilian was right. She was pinned down, unable to leave the beacon undefended but equally unable to complete the objective. Unless. Sometimes, Mac muttered to herself, you have to break the rules. She picked up the beacon, the actual physical manifestation of it cradling the glowing orb in her arm while keeping her weapon ready with her free hand. What are you doing? Drillax sounded genuinely confused. You can't move the beacon. Watch me, Mac replied, sprinting toward where she knew the enemy beacon waited. Drillax fired, hitting Mac in the leg. The neurological stimulus was intense, like being stabbed with a hot poker, but she gritted her teeth and kept running. Illegal tactic detected, announced the automated system. Assessment paused. The simulation froze, then dissolved, returning the room to its original state. Veritax stood in the center, all four eyes fixed on Mac with an expression she couldn't read. Cadet Torres, the senior instructor said, voice dangerously quiet. Explain yourself. Mac carefully set down the beacon, which was now just a simple metal sphere with a light. The objective was to capture the enemy beacon while defending our own. I found a way to do both simultaneously. By breaking protocol, Veritax stated. By adapting to the situation, Mac countered. Isn't that what combat is about? Finding solutions when standard tactics fail? Veritax's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sound Mac hadn't heard from him before. It took her a moment to realize he was laughing. Cadet Torres raises an interesting point, the instructor said, addressing the whole class. In real combat, rigid adherence to doctrine can be fatal. However, he turned back to Mac. In training scenarios, parameters exist for a reason. Mac nodded, expecting a reprimand. Your solution was unorthodox, Veritax continued, but effective. In recognition of your innovative approach, Team 1 and Team 2 are both awarded partial credit for this exercise. Murmurs spread through the watching cadets. Sirion looked livid, his silver skin flushed with a darker metallic hue. Drillax, however, gave Mac what might have been a nod of respect. Final assessment, Veritax announced. For the gauntlet, each cadet will face a personalized challenge designed to test their limits. Cadet Torres, you are first. Again. The gauntlet chamber was smaller than the main simulation room, with the same featureless black walls. Mac stood alone in the center, her only company the floating camera drones that would record her performance for evaluation. Cadet Torres, came Veritax's voice over the intercom. Your gauntlet has been specially designed based on your species' psychology and your personal assessment results. The lights dimmed, then flared back to life. The chamber had transformed into what appeared to be an Earth environment, a narrow mountain pass with sheer cliffs on either side. At the far end stood a door marked Exit. Your objective is simple, Veritax explained. Reach the exit within 5 minutes. The scenario will adapt to your actions. Mac began moving forward cautiously. The simulation felt incredibly real. She could feel the rocky ground beneath her boots, smell the pine scent in the air. She'd gone perhaps 20 meters when the first attack came, a shower of rocks from above. Her Deathworlder reflexes kicked in, and she dodged most of them, though one caught her shoulder painfully. "Interesting," she muttered, picking up speed. The path narrowed, forcing her to press against the cliff face to proceed. As she shuffled sideways, eyes on the exit, a rumbling sound made her look up. An entire section of cliff was collapsing toward her. Mac sprinted forward, barely clearing the rockfall zone as tons of virtual stone crashed behind her, cutting off her retreat. 2 minutes remaining, came the automated announcement. The exit was still a good 100 meters away, but the path ahead seemed clear. Too clear. Mac slowed, scanning for threats. Nothing visible, but her instincts screamed danger. She picked up a small stone and tossed it onto the path ahead. Immediately, the ground gave way, revealing a hidden pit filled with sharp spikes. Clever, she acknowledged, looking for a way around. The pit spanned the entire width of the pass, but the cliff walls had enough handholds that she might be able to climb across. Mac jumped, grabbing a protruding rock, and began traversing horizontally across the pit. Halfway across, the handholds began to crumble under her fingers. "Oh, come on," she grunted, increasing her speed as each grip disintegrated after she used it. With a final lunge, she cleared the pit, rolling to her feet on solid ground. The exit door was now just 50 meters ahead. 1 minute remaining. Mac broke into a run, adrenaline pumping. She'd almost reached the door when 3 turrets emerged from the cliff face, each tracking her movement. They fired simultaneously. The first shot hit her right shoulder, sending a shock of pain through her body. The second struck her left thigh, nearly buckling her leg. The third caught her squarely in the chest, knocking the wind from her lungs. Mac staggered but didn't fall. The neurological stimuli were intense. They felt like actual bullet wounds, but she forced herself forward, one painful step at a time. 30 seconds remaining. The turrets recalibrated, preparing to fire again. Mac realized she wouldn't make it to the door before they shot her again, and a third barrage might actually incapacitate her. She glanced at the door, then at the cliff wall beside it. An idea formed. The turrets fired their second volley. Mac dove, rolling behind a boulder for cover. The shots impacted the stone, sending chips flying. 20 seconds. Here, no time for subtlety. Mac charged directly at the nearest cliff face, not toward the door. The turrets tracked her, firing again. One shot grazed her arm, but she reached the cliff and began climbing with desperate speed. 10 seconds. She reached a position directly above the exit door, the turrets unable to elevate enough to target her. Below, the door remained closed, taunting her. 5 seconds. Mac jumped, dropping the full height onto the top of the door's frame. Her weight and momentum, combined with her Deathworlder strength, did what no amount of finesse could have accomplished. She tore the door completely off its hinges. As she tumbled through the now empty doorway, clutching the mangled door, the simulation dissolved around her. "Gauntlet complete," announced the system. Time, 4 minutes, 58 seconds. Mac lay on the floor of the now normal chamber, breathing hard, still holding the simulation door that had somehow remained physical even after the rest of the virtual environment disappeared. The real door to the chamber slid open. Veritax stood there, accompanied by Praloon and several wide-eyed cadets who had apparently been watching from a viewing room. That, Veritax said slowly, was not the expected solution. Mac struggled to her feet, wincing at the phantom pain from the simulation wounds. "Sorry about the door." "The door was intended to be unopenable," Praloon explained, sounding both impressed and disturbed. "The test was designed to see how you would handle failure." "Oh." Mac looked down at the crumpled metal in her hands. "I didn't realize failure was an option." Veritax's mandibles clicked in that laughing gesture again. "It seems, Cadet Torres, that you and your predecessors share more than just physical capabilities. You both refuse to acknowledge no-win scenarios." From behind the instructors, Mac could see Xiphias, Luminax, and Quillax watching with what appeared to be awe. Even Drillax nodded approvingly. Only Cerulean and the other Arcturians maintained their aloof disapproval. The purpose of the gauntlet, Veritax continued, is not merely to test skills but to reveal character. Your solution was destructive but effective. In real combat situations, adaptability often makes the difference between victory and defeat. He stepped aside, gesturing for Mac to exit the chamber. Welcome to the Galactic Confederation Military Academy, Cadet Torres. I believe your training will be enlightening for all of us. As Mac stepped through the doorway, still clutching the mangled simulation door, Xiphias approached her. That was the most amazing thing I have ever seen, the aquatic cadet gurgled. You just ripped it off. They shot you 3 times, Luminax added, internal organs pulsing with excitement, and you kept going. Incredible. Is that normal for humans? Quillax asked, spines vibrating with curiosity. Mac shrugged, then winced at the lingering pain. We are pretty stubborn, I guess. Stubborn is not the word I would use, came Cerulean's voice from behind them. The Arcturian approached, his silver features composed but tension evident in his stance. Reckless, unpredictable, dangerous, effective, countered Drillax, joining the group. The Deathworlder passed a test designed to be unpassable. Cerulean's eyes narrowed. This time. But such brute force approaches will not succeed in more sophisticated challenges. Maybe not, Mac conceded. That's why I'm here to learn, from all of you. She met Cerulean's gaze steadily, even from the Arcturians. Something flickered across Cerulean's perfect features, surprise, perhaps, or reluctant respect. After a moment he inclined his head slightly. We shall see what you are capable of learning, Deathworlder Torres. As the Arcturian glided away, Xiphias nudged Mac with a flipper. I think he almost complimented you. Progress, Mac said with a smile, finally setting down the broken door. Slow progress. Veritax approached, datapad in hand. Your official assessment results, Cadet Torres. Top marks in physical aptitude, combat readiness, and creative problem-solving. His mandibles twitched. You have been assigned to Advanced Squadron 7, along with Cadets Xiphias, Luminax, Quillax, Drillax, and Cerulean. You are putting us together? Mac asked, surprised. The Confederation fleet operates with diverse crews, Veritax explained. Learning to work with different species and temperaments is essential training. Besides, his upper eyes narrowed in what might have been amusement. I believe you and Cadet Cerulean will challenge each other. As the senior instructor walked away, Xiphias made a bubbling sound that Mac interpreted as laughter. This is going to be an interesting year, the aquatic cadet said. Mac looked around at her new squadmates, at the broken simulation door, at the vast training facility that would be her home for the next cycle. She thought about Earth so far away and the path that had brought her here to a place where she was simultaneously feared, respected, and completely out of her element. Yeah, she agreed with a smile. Interesting is definitely the word.